So today's going to be a Fran's cook lunch when he hasn't been shopping. So this will be a bit of an adventure for me to see what I'm going to come up with. But it's probably nothing too dissimilar to what I normally cook. Anyway, so today I was going to talk about, well, I've got a few videos that I've been putting up. So I'm not sure which one, this might be 6 or 7, I don't know. And I still can't really understand how YouTube decides like what gets promoted and what doesn't. So there's one video which is to do with into like your first interview, and that's had 11 views so far, and none of the others have had any views. And I got a subscriber. Thank you, subscriber number 1. You'll always be my number 1. And so I'm just curious as to why that is. So I was thinking about maybe making a follow-up video on that, where I go a bit more into detail about it, and then using the same tags and see what happens, just to see if does that get promoted, does that. I don't really understand how it works. But for some reason, there must be something about those tags on that video that makes it get promoted, and 11 people have seen it, which is nice. If anyone does see this, then please become a follower, and like, subscribe, and all that, as all the other popular videos say. I found my protein source for today, which is anis de boda, which I'm not really sure how to say in English, but it's a bit like squid. So we'll be having some of them. Rest of this can go in the freezer. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. So I was going to just try and plow ahead and just like, I'll just do the video because I've got things to say and things, but I've realised that if I'm going to talk about certain topics, then I probably should do like a certain amount of research. But then the delivery might not really go with cooking lunch and giving you some career advice or whatever, but we'll just have to see how that works, because I think the whole reason that I'm doing these videos in this way is because if I actually have to sit down and like set up cameras and do video edits and things like that, then I'm just not going to do them. And that's why I've never done YouTube videos before, because I just can't be arsed. Well, it's not that I can't be bothered, it's more that I really don't have the time, or I don't have the time, I don't want to make the time to be messing about with technology. And that's what it really is, because I'm basically, like as I said before, I'm a computer programmer, and that's what I do all day, is sit in front of a computer. And so I don't even want to do that anymore. So when I used to record music on my computer when I was a student. Like, I played the guitar and I plug all the stuff in, and it was great. But since I've become, I earn my living sitting in front of a computer, I just don't want to do it. Like outside, I just can't. I want to be away from the computer. So I even went as far as buying a digital 4-track. Well, it's not really a 4-track, but I used to love playing with the 4-track. You just plug it in, get going, and you could just lay down ideas. You'd never be able to. Well, I don't know about never. But I would never be able to get it anywhere near like a decent type of quality, but like in terms of like audio quality. But back then, we're talking like 20 odd, nearly 30 years ago. Everything was, or almost everything was just analog. And now that you can do digital stuff, it's quite amazing what you can just do in a home studio. Or not even a home studio, just like a computer and digital multi-track recorder and stuff like that. So anyway, that's why I don't foresee me ever really gone very far down the production value aspect of these videos, because my heart sinks just thinking about having to sit there and edit a video. I mean, I know there are some you know AI things that purport to be able to do it just by just telling, oh, do this and do that, but I've heard that they're not actually all there yet, so I'm afraid that it's just not going to happen. So yeah. So I mean, the whole point of me, the whole reason that I want to do these videos is because I want to sort of plant seeds in people's minds about concepts that you wouldn't normally hear. Because although, you know, social media and all that's great, and you know, there's all kinds of, you know, there's YouTube channels for absolutely everything that you could possibly want, but we're all really siloed. You know, we kind of just listen to the things that we want to hear. You know, we pre-filter in a way that would never really happen. You know, like, well, I suppose when I was growing up and everyone watched the same things, the filter was already there, because you couldn't really get to what you did. You only consumed what you were allowed to consume, pretty much. And it was, you know, there weren't, although there were loads of books out there, but there was no actual, well, very few interesting telly programs that would be on. So, you know, so what happens now? Well, now we can, you know, you can go to Netflix and just watch exactly what you want to watch. You know, you don't have to think about, ooh, you know, what am I going to do between 8 and 9 when such and such a rubbish program's on. It's like, it's all just completely so on demand that, you know, you just choose what you want, which sounds great, but we're not really exposed to anything new. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is, if I put out videos that are sort of about things, so maybe, you know, I'll do the one about interview technique and things like that, and maybe that'll expose some people to concepts of like the self-ownership thing that I'm always banging on about. That'll you know, that'll make them think, oh, well, what is this self-ownership thing? And you know, because it's, you know, at the heart of, you know, it should be at the heart of everything that we do. You know, is, you know, the whole reason that you've got any type of autonomy is because, in theory, you're choosing what you're doing. You know, it's like, well, this is my body, these are my actions, these are my relationships. You know, how am I going to interact with people in a moral and, you know, productive way, and that goes for everything. I mean, that's just like, you know, all aspects of your life can be modified, or should at least pass through the filter of, you know, is what I'm doing now coherent with my principles type of thing. You know, it's kind of surprising that people have the ability to compartmentalise the life to such an extent where, you know, you don't feel the need to even be like civil to certain people just because, you know, I don't know, maybe they think that they're above them in station, or I don't know. These little cucumbers, they're lovely. I got these off my auntie, who got them from the person who grew them. So I'll just very nice. Well, don't worry, I'm not going to be eating a small cucumber while I'm talking to you. So, I was thinking about this the other day. Like, like I said, I work for a software company, and we have support issues. Where people send us emails and like they're either can't figure out how something works, or maybe there's like a small usability issue or something that isn't. It's not obvious how some functionality works, or maybe it's just a bug or whatever. And so, we get people coming in, and I send them those emails all the time. And like in general, it's people are pretty nice. They're very civil. I mean, I think a lot of it's to do with the fact that if you've got some difficulty with using something, then you're more likely to get help and a nice response if you're just civil about it. So another strange thing happened to me the other day is I was reading through like some other companies, they filed support cases, and so it was the guy was on the other end. He was a software developer, and he was asking another software company to sort of they bought a component, and they wanted to get help on using it. And I was horrified to see how rude he was. So I'm used to being the receiver of these emails, so I don't really, I'm not normally privy to the other side of the equation where someone's asking for help, and I was just reading through it, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. And kind of it shocked me because I was wondering why would someone write emails like this? When you're asking for help, but you're in a you seem to be in a situation, or feel like you're in this privileged situation because you're the customer and I want you to give me something. And it's made me think, when I wonder if I do that in other situations. I wonder if I'm in the supermarket and I'm in the supermarket and I'm important because I'm the one who's doing all the shopping, and when you're just stacking shelves. It's just so not cool to be an asshole, you know what I mean? I remember I used to listen to what's his name? He worked for Microsoft, and he had Hanselman. I think it's Scott Hanselman. So I used to listen to him a lot because I found him quite funny, and he'd be talking about technical tech stuff, but he'd always make an issue of trying to be nice to people, and he used to have this, I think it was him, the no asshole rule, and he was just just don't be an asshole ever, and it's actually, if you're present in the moment, then it is easy to just not be an asshole, but it's so difficult when you get caught up in things, and there's that's kind of a stoic perspective of that, what you see, what happens, the actual consequences, it all depends on the way you perceive it, and that's very much part of, or at least how I interpret self-ownership, is that you do have a lot of autonomy in how you choose to see something. So I'm not my psychological knowledge, my knowledge of psychology doesn't go very far at all. In fact, it goes about as far as going out with some girl who studied psychology, so I don't really know much at all. But one of the things that she did mention to me was something the concept of projection, and it might have been Freud maybe who talked about this, and so it's something so forgive me for murdering this, but it's like when you see something or when you're thinking something, then you perceive other things in that criteria. So I see it with my kids all the time. So when I've got I've got three kids and like there's two girls and they're a similar age, but like one's 2 years older than the other, and so you can really see the difference in maturity or not. And what happens is they tend, sometimes they'll spiral into some kind of argument that starts from like literally nothing. But when the other one's on the total defensive, no matter, like when one's on the total defensive, no matter what comes out of the mouth of the other one, whether it be the elder or the younger, it's just met with offence. And it's like, oh, she said this, and oh, she meant that, and oh, she looked at me like this. And it's, it kind of makes me laugh, but I see this, once you like tune into it, you can see it everywhere. You can just see it. Like people, like it happens to me all the time when I'm like taking the dog for a walk. And so I don't know if it's just that most people don't pick up the poo or what, but I always do. Always. Even if it's dark and I'm rummaging round in the grass, like in a corner, it's like, oh yeah, I've got one, and that's it. I find it. So I always, and I see, like I'm talking, like walking with the dog or whatever, and then someone will go, oh, it's disgusting that you don't pick up the dog poo. And it's happened more than once where I've literally had the bag with the excrement in it, and I just go, I always pick up the poo. And then they're on to the next grievance. Oh, well, if the dog wheezes on a plant, then the plant doesn't like it. And it's like, oh, what, am I supposed to take a mop out with me as well? What's going on here? And the point is, it's like, people are often just, like, want to pick a fight. And it's kind of, also we live in, the kind of society that we live in is that if someone, starts kicking off on me, they totally expect me, and rightly so, that I'm not just going to give them a smack, because that'd be kind of, I don't know, it would be very much, beyond the realms of acceptable behaviour. But we've got to that state where like we're completely, fine with just projecting your view onto someone else and then kicking off at them because something that is completely in your head and not in their head. And it's kind of strange because it just happens all the time. And you'd think that someone might have noticed. And it's as if like no one notices this. So if there's, maybe that's the theme for like today's talk, is like the no asshole rule. It's not that difficult to do. And you just need to sort of get over yourself, because we all do it. It's obviously like hardwired into us. It's kind of like internal empathy or something where you just like, it's the first step, isn't it? It's like, well, I feel like this, so maybe they feel like that. It's a good step when you're like 3, but when you're getting, when you're interacting in society and stuff, it's not good to just assume that everything that's going through your mind must by default be going through everyone else's mind, because obviously we are all different, and perhaps some of us are trying to be a little bit more mature about things, and the fact that we do consider self-ownership to be an important thing, it does affect everything, so I'm no saint. I can fall into it and have, and to be honest, I'm pretty bad, and I have quite a temper when I'm in the car. I don't really know why. I don't know if it's it's definitely something that I'm trying to work on. It's not like I'm going to get out clock anyone, but I do. living in Spain, everyone's very like excitable, should we say? In the same way that, like in Liverpool, that level of excitement would just lead to instant violence. You know what I mean? So in Liverpool, we're quite verbal, but we're very like, or at least when I was growing up, there was a big distinction between, actually, going anywhere physical, because that would mean that there will just be a fight. So I've had people in Spain like get out of the car and like come over, and it's just like I have to just say to myself, you're not in Liverpool now. Or I don't know if it's just Liverpool. I can imagine it being pretty much most of the UK. If you're going to get out of the car to get all aggressive and get in someone's face, then I think it's probably going to get violent. Whereas here it doesn't. And so it's like, someone gets out of the car. So I obviously have to get out of the car because I don't want to just be sitting down, just in the rare case that some guy does want to clock me. Sitting down in the car is not a good way to defend yourself. So you get out of the car and the guy starts and he's just like, man, calm down, will you? Get in your car, you little tit. And then it just blows over. But it's, I wonder, of all the things that are going on in the world, like especially now, it's just people are just so caught up in like the little, in the head, like, go get it, go do that, see how he looked at you, and we don't need that. So this is also the reason, I think, like people talk about, why we need laws and why we need law enforcement and we need more police and we need this and that, and it's just totally delegating their own responsibility to like just sort yourself out. Don't be this crazy, volatile person who can just explode at any minute, because years ago that people would just be embarrassed to act like that, and for some reason we're not anymore. I don't know if it's like, if it's it's like TikTok or Instagram or something where people just want to be like, they do everything for views and clicks and likes, and you can't live your life like that. It's just, you need some kind of like self-reflection. And the point is, no one wants to be told any of this. So this is why I'm going to try and do videos that are, about topics, and then put these things in, because I think if you can sort of, if we get, it's not like a sneak tactic, but we do need to be exposed to new ideas. I mean, when I first heard about Lock and Rose, I didn't have any idea who this guy was, and it turns out that he's all about, he's an anarchist, and abolish the government and all that. And when I heard that, I just thought, that is just so ridiculous. What the hell is he talking about? And then when you sort of, I didn't dismiss him, so I heard about it from, like, I can't remember exactly, but it was on some source that was like about something else, and sort of was a side topic, and so I just listened to him. I thought, well, if this guy is just so crazy, he's obviously not going to be able to convince me of anything. So I wasn't afraid of, I read his book, The Most Dangerous Superstition, and at the time, so I read it, and although I wasn't able to actually, I don't know, agree isn't the word, but I wasn't there to say, right, yeah, this is of course how we need to live. but I couldn't refute it. It was sort of like when it was explained in a way, just basically explains that really that, we're all just people. There is no such thing as like authority, and really, I couldn't dispute that. I couldn't refute it because it's like, well, it is kind of obvious. We are just all people, aren't we? It's not like when the policeman like takes off his costume, he's not just a guy, and like when he's not wearing his costume, he can't do certain things. It's like, so what is it? Is it the costume? It's like, well, if it is, then it's just made up, and you just go through the logical process, and it's like, oh yeah, he is actually right. But I wasn't prepared to like change my worldview, but I actually concede. I had to concede just by being a logical person, and he was right, and that was it. The seed was planted, and I just couldn't. It just made me think, or just see the world in a slightly different way, and that's what I think that's what I'm trying to do with this. So apart from being therapy for me, like just getting stuff off my chest, I'd like to, help diffuse, promote these concepts, because it will make the world a better place. And even Lachlan Rose says he wouldn't just like push the end of state button and just hope everything would be better, because he knows it wouldn't be. But I think people, or at least enough people, if they just get far enough along down the line to actually like disengage from like politics, and just it's not even tribalism, because at least tribalism, like when you're in a tribe, the tribe will do something for you. In politics, just because you vote the same way as someone else doesn't mean that you do anything, lift a finger at all to help you out if you needed anything. So it's not, when people say, oh, politics is just tribalism. If only it was tribalism, at least that would be so much closer to like something constructive. Anyway, not that I haven't been rambling the whole time, but I think I've said what I need to say now. So my lunch is ready. Fran has cooked lunch, and today it is cauliflower, broccoli, the squid stuff, carrots, and these beans, which I can't remember what they're just like. Like the type of beans that are in baked beans, but without tomato obviously. And yeah, and that is what I'm going to eat for my lovely lunch. So have a good day, and I'll see you around in the next video.